Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 classic movie. So this movie is near and dear to so many people's hearts. They absolutely love this movie. It is considered the greatest movie of all time. It was directed by Victor Fleming. And it's interesting because even though it is a cult classic and it had favorable reviews when it came out, it was a box office flop, if you will. It did not make its budget back, which is, really, really sad. In fact, what's really interesting is that pretty much every live action Wizard of Oz movie does really terrible at the box office. Whether it's the original classic, The Wiz, Oz the Great and Powerful, they just all tend to bomb at the box office. Wicked is making some pretty good money, but that's just worldwide. It's close to regaining its budget back, but it's not like overwhelming numbers. It's not like Barbie. And so I don't know how much money it's making domestic, but it has about another 100 or so to go to make its budget back worldwide. And so who knows how it's going to do. This is just in the first week. You know what I'm saying? And I believe the movie did well overseas. But what's interesting is that it came out in 1939, but it didn't make its money back until 1949. And it didn't become renowned famous until 1954 when it aired on CBS. That's just crazy, man. It had to suck because the people who were involved in this movie, my God, they went through a lot. I mentioned it in the last video I just posted about Is the Wizard of Oz Cursed? But the things they went through, it's hard to rewatch this movie knowing all the stuff that happened to these stars, everything from getting paint poisoning to having to do the whole liquid diet thing, not being able to eat, sweating in your costume, fracturing your leg, getting burnt on set, having people make fun of you, groping you. All it was disgusting. And what's worse is the pay. Now you gotta remember this is 1930s, you know what I'm saying? The pay was crazy and the women got paid next to almost nothing. The two highest stars were paid $3,000 and those were the Scarecrow and the Tin Man actor. They got paid $3,000. The dude who played the lion, I believe, got paid $2,000 or $1,000. The Wicked Witch of the West got paid $1,000. But Dorothy herself, Judy Garland, only got paid $500. And everybody was paid this amount per week. She's the lead of the movie, but only got $500. Not to mention the dog got $125, but the people playing Munchkins, they were only paid $50 a week. That is insane. Now I don't know what the equivalent is in today's time, but that was just low down. I already told you, they stuffed those dwarf people in a hotel. They got drunk. They was acting disgusting towards Judy and everything. And they only got paid $50, but she only got paid $500. And so in this video, I'm going to cover the actual movie, differences between the book and the movie, because they are quite different. For the most part, this is the most faithful adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, live action wise, that is. but it does take its liberties. They made some changes to the source material that live on in today, like the appearance of the Wicked Witch from the West. This is all because of the movie, man. And so, like, I'm also going to talk about some of the drama behind the scenes, just to reiterate from what I said in my last video. Now, L. Frank Baum, he is the one who wrote The Wizard of Oz. In fact, he wrote a total of about, 14 books. I made a mistake the other day when I said 3. Only 3 of the books got adapted into movies. But, like, he wrote 14 books, and this man, he wrote out the lore. He did backstories for certain characters. He continued the story. Like at one point, Dorothy, her uncle and aunt went to go live permanently in Oz and everything. Like this man loved this story, And then after he died, other people started writing stuff like, the Wicked books and other books. But I think he also wrote 2 or 3 more books that was kind of like a tie-in to some of the other ones and stuff. And it's interesting because he wrote it about Kansas, but he never lived there and stuff. So that's kind of odd that he would do that. And so this movie came about because of like Disney's Snow White. That's crazy. Like MGM was all like, hey, look, we need a movie like that. So they got the cooking and, wrote out a script. There were several people, over about 10 people who wrote this script. One was actually female. And so, the casting was done and stuff like that. And when it comes to Judy Garland, at first they wanted Shirley Temple, who was only 10 years old, but she couldn't sing as well as Judy. So they cast Judy. But they weren't pleased with her appearance. Now, she's lovely, you know what I'm saying? She was 17-year-old when this movie came out. I think she said it was about 13 or so when they was in like production of like the movie, and they was so rude and nasty to her. First off, they put fake teeth on her because some of her teeth had gaps and a few of them were crooked. They put some type of rubber disc thing in her nose to give her that pointy nose look. When you see her turn to the side, you see her nose is pointed up. Then there was issues with her weight. They made her drink black coffee, gave her chicken noodle soup and cigarettes for a diet so that she could lose weight. Well, weight she didn't lose, they put a corset around her because her boobs were too big and they didn't like the size of her waist. And she had to do all of that while singing and dancing and falling over in the movie. Hollywood, in my opinion, murdered this woman. Because on top of that, they gave her pills. Now, technically, her mom was the first to ever give her pills back when they was like traveling and singing and stuff. She gave her pep pills. But the studio gave her more. They gave her pep pills to stay up during the day and sleeping pills to sleep at night, and only got 4 hours of sleep. Shooting for about 70 hours. And because she was addicted to it, she did that for the rest of her career and the rest of her life. Hollywood murdered this woman, and it's quite a shame because she died when she was like 46 in 1960 something. And I'm not throwing shade at her in no way, shape, or form, but when you look at pictures of when she's older at like 46, she looks a lot older than she does when she's 40. And that's because of all the stress, staying up all day, and also the pills. Hollywood murdered this woman. And so, on top of that, she was harassed by the people who were dwarfs and everything. They kept trying to put their hands up her dress. They constantly was hitting on her. Some person high up in Hollywood pinched her butt. All kinds of stuff. And there's no telling what else, but that's all she ever mentioned. If you think Hollywood is terrible today, it was a million times worse back then. And she was only a teenager. And, when it comes to other injuries on set, Margaret Hamilton, who played the witch, She was burnt doing when she was supposed to descend down into the ground, that puff of smoke and then flames. Her outfit got caught and she got burnt severely on the hands, the face, lost some eyebrows and eyelashes. She had to take about 6 weeks to recuperate. But I think it was 6 weeks or was it 60 days? I think it was 60 days. And they didn't even call for no limo to take her to like a hospital or a home or nothing like that. She had to call a friend. And in 60 days, they were like, hey, we need you back and everything. And that let her know that, hey, they don't care about her. She never sued because of the fact that she was scared she'll never work in Hollywood again. Then her stunt double got burnt. When it comes to that of the like original Tin Man, Buddy Ebsen, he was the original Tin Man. The one on the left. That's why you don't recognize his face. They changed even the appearance of his face to look more mechanical back then. They used some type of aluminum silver like dust paint type stuff, and he had a bad poisonous allergic reaction to it. His joints were hurting, his limbs were hurting. He was waking up in the middle of the night screaming. So they got rid of him, and then they recast the new actor. And the new actor, they used like some type of aluminum paint, and he got an eye infection. And it's just because like back then they really didn't know if certain like stuff was like toxic or whatever. But yeah, and not only that, but like I already told you about the whole asbestos type thing, right? Like they use that for snow, and that stuff is very lethal to people and get them a lung infection and stuff like that. The dude who played the lion, Bert Lair or something like that, they made him wear a suit that was made from a real lion. That is disgusting. It was heavy and he was constantly sweating in it, and they wouldn't let him eat in between takes and had to give him a liquid diet. And now I forgot to also mention that the Wicked Witch of the West, her green paint was so toxic they had to feed her through a straw to make sure it wouldn't get in her mouth and make her sick. As for Toto, Terry the dog, man, even the dog got hurt. One of the Winky Man stepped on like her leg and fractured it. And as for Terry the doll, she lived until like 11, changed her name to Toto. She was very famous and everything. And when she was hurt, she spent 2 weeks with Judy and everything. They grew so attached to each other that Judy wanted to buy her from her owner, but the owner wouldn't let her. Then when you watch the movie, it feels like a giant set piece, because it is, you know what I'm saying? It feels like a play. And there are times where you can feel like you're outside, but for the most part, it's really just like a set piece. And yeah, look, as famous as this movie is, it's outdated. The set pieces, the practical effects. I remember the scene where, like, the Wicked Witch of the East, her feet shrivel up and everything, and all of a sudden the Witch of the West is not there, but then all of a sudden she just appears out of nowhere. And the dialogue is very outdated. It's so clunky that I have no idea what the wizard is even talking about. Glinda the Witch and the wizard, I seriously have no idea what they're talking about. Like when the wizard is all like, oh, I don't have no powers and here's some gifts and all that, and I'm like, dude, what the world are you talking about? Like, he's just rambling really fast, like a con artist, salesman, and everything. Because that's really what he is. He's just talking so fast and not making no sense when he talks. And they just believe him, like, oh, okay, whatever. And Glinda, as for the reason why she didn't tell Dorothy, hey, look, as soon as I gave you those shoes, all you had to do is click your heels 3 times and say there's no place like home. But she didn't tell her that. And the reason, the explanation for it don't make no sense. So, yes, the movie's not perfect. And I know some people are like, how dare you say that? But look, it was 1939. All right. Yeah, I mean, That was a long time ago, so it's not gonna be perfect. But it still remains very faithful. Very people are very loyal to it. People have a really strong connection to this movie. This movie embodies, like, first, like, just good behavior in people, kind-heartedness, um, unconditional love. Dorothy is literally projected to be like one of the most perfect, kind-hearted, sweetheart type people there is. She really doesn't have no evil bone in her body. She's pure of heart. She has unconditional love, but she will stand up for herself when she feels is just. She looks out for other people even if she doesn't know who they are. She is literally like an angel from like above, you know what I'm saying? Like her heart is so pure that it is literally gold and everything. She's very polite. She always says please and thank you and stuff like that. Those morals that a lot of people have lost, you know what I'm saying? She, but what's really weird? There's one part, like when she ran away from home, she was gonna run away with like the professor dude. She doesn't know who he is. He's a middle-aged man. She wanted to go to London with him. I mean, girl was looking for some trouble. You don't do that. I guess some days it was different. But watching this movie, I can't help but feel offended for a couple of reasons. One, every time I see the Munchkins on screen, I'm pissed off at how they treated her. Like, those were some perverted, nasty people and stuff. But I also get offended with how Hollywood was back then. Hollywood always has to show the man, like, having to save a helpless woman. And it's shown in this movie once. The second time, I can give it a pass only because she was in the castle tower and she was up high, couldn't climb out the window, and don't know why she didn't go out the front door, but I guess she was afraid of the guards or something like that. So I can give that a pass. But the part in the beginning when it's like in black and white, or I should say reddish copper, like when she's talking to the farmhands and she falls over in the pigsty and she's like, oh, like help me and everything. And the men have to jump in and grab her and get her out. But all she had to do was stand up and put her leg over the fence and get out. But that's only in there so the men can rescue her because they can't show a strong, powerful woman back in those days. So offended. I'm not even a woman. I'm a man, baby. But and also when it comes to this movie, you have like her friends, the people she meets, and it's just kind of one of those things that where you don't know somebody and you see they're in like a predicament, but you're willing to extend your hand out and help them, and in turn they want to help you back, and in turn they become a friend and loyal. Like her three friends that she make in Oz, they will do anything for her. They will protect her no matter what, no matter how scary it is. They won't abandon her. They won't judge her. They are true like friends, you know. And that's the moral lessons of like these movies that back in those days, those feel good movies, stuff just isn't like that no more. And yes, it is a musical. They sing, they dance. It's been so long since I've seen this movie. I saw it on TV many, 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 many years ago when I was little. I forgot all these songs came from this movie. Well, except for we're going to visit the Wizard of Oz. That's the only one I remember because he has named the title. But the other ones, like Something Over a Rainbow, and I forgot it came from it. I thought it was like Disney or something like that. And so, like, it's just crazy. I thought those songs came from like a Disney cartoon. Oh boy. And so this movie is a true gem. Like it really truly is. And what's interesting? I just rewatched it on DVD. My first time rewatching it in over 30 years. And I decided to watch some of the behind the scenes stuff of how like the people made this movie come to be on DVD. I didn't watch the whole thing because they started talking sci-fi jargon and I didn't know what the world they were talking about. But it took a lot to get the original print copy, scan it into computer, changing the colors, to try to make it feel as realistic as possible. And they did a really good job. But no matter what, and I don't know if this was intentional, but even back in the day when I used to watch this movie, the beginning of the movie when she's home at the farm, everybody's mouth movement doesn't line up with what they're saying. Kind of like how those old movies were back in the day. Now, of course, they shot this in Technicolor, had techno lights and techno camera and stuff, but they was getting fancy back then. And so let's see, what will I talk about now before I get into the actual plot and everything? I'm thinking, should I just do a quick character bio or should I just say it as I'm going? I guess I could say it as I'm going. Okay, so this movie is set in Kansas on like a barren wasteland, looks like, and we're at like the Gale farm, and we get to see Dorothy and the farm hands and the aunt and auntie and Toto and everything. And so like there's this one lady who doesn't like Toto. She wants him put down. She's had it arranged. She stole the dog and everything. But Toto's awesome, man. Toto, it's a girl. Toto's like, yo, man, you ain't gonna kill me. I'm going back home. And so Dorothy, after he jumps through the window, she realizes that that lady will just be back. So she decides to run away from home, where she meets the professor, and then a storm is coming, a cyclone, a tornado. So she heads back home. And this is one of the scariest tornadoes I've ever seen in a movie. Like, stuff is just going around everywhere. I don't know how come modern day can't make it look this scary. But it looked scary back then, man. However they did it. Well, whatever practical effects they had, they sure made it look terrifying. And so the family gets down in the storm shelter, but she's unable to, and she has to hide in the home. And there, of course, the home gets picked up. She gets knocked out. And when she wakes up, it's funny because we see all these people in the tornado just knitting the sweater, riding a bike, on a boat, just waving at her. I'm all like, oh, wow. Now, in the book, she doesn't run away from home. She doesn't get knocked out. I think she was just in the home and it just gets picked up by a cyclone and Toto goes out the window and she has to grab him by the ear. But everything matches up with her landing in Oz and killing the Wicked Witch of the East. And so while she's there, she is greeted in the movie, because she lands in Munchkin Land, she's later greeted by Glinda the Good Witch. And she's the Good Witch of the North in the movie, but technically in the book, she's the Good Witch of the South. See, in the book, she's greeted by an older lady who's a witch, the Witch of the North. For whatever reason, they took her out of the movie and they added Glinda. I don't know why they did that. Maybe they just wanted to condense it. Maybe they didn't want an older person in the movie. Who knows? I will say in the movie, Glinda always looks like a fairy, not a witch. I don't know why they made her look like a fairy. I guess because, witches back in those days were considered like hags and moles and everything and claws for hands, and I guess they just wanted to show, okay, this is the good one, this is what she looks like, and what something that's good and dear, fairies. And so, we see the Wicked Witch of the West, and of course, the Munchkins, they're singing, which went on for way too long. And we see the Wicked Witch of the West, who does not look this way in the book. In the book, she has blonde pigtails, a colorful outfit, and normal human skin, and a telescope thing for an eye. I'm so glad they redesigned her. I'm so glad they redesigned her for the movie. That all black dress, the pointy hat, the black hair, the green skin, the pointy chin, the pointy nose. I can do without the mole. It was just perfect. And that look is so iconic. It has continued for over 80 years now. Every time you see the Wicked Witch of the West, no matter if it's in a movie, animated movie, a television show, she got that green skin. This is how iconic this movie is. And of course, she is as wicked as they come. And she is furious that her sister is dead. She goes to get the slippers, and of course, they disappear, and the feet shrivel up. The reason why the feet shrivel up is the same reason in the book. Now, the reason for it is because she's supposed to be so old and the sun dried her out. And we never get to see her face because, she's under a house. Now, of course, the shoes themselves got a major redesign. They were silver in the book, but they are ruby red in the movie. Now, I don't know the reason behind this. Maybe they wanted the shoes to stand out more and pop on screen. That's my logical assumption and stuff. They was working with Technicolor. They wanted to get their money's worth out of that. And the red really does pop. But and when you see her, you can't help because, when she dances on screen, you just look at her feet. You know what I'm saying? And so, the Wicked Witch, she wants the shoes and everything, but, Glinda won't let her have them. And then she later leaves, makes her a threat. And the reason why she wants them, in the book, she could care less about her sister. She just wants the shoes because they are powerful and they can grant you wishes and stuff. And so, Glinda tells, Dorothy that, maybe the wizard can help get you back home. Just follow the yellow brick road. And so that's what she does. And so in the book, Glinda actually, not Glinda, but the witch of the North actually gives her a kiss on the forehead. And that kiss basically gives her the ability not to be harmed. Now, she does get kissed by Glinda in the movie on the forehead, but it's just a regular old kiss. There's no, protection spell on it or nothing like that. But she tells her these shoes will protect you and never take them off. So off she goes by herself in this, foreign land and everything. And that's pretty brave because she just wants to get home. And so, as we all know, the first person she encounters is the Scarecrow because she gets lost because the road divides into different sections. I remember the actor playing the Scarecrow was paid $3,000. He was one of two highest paid people. And she finds him on a pole and he's just there. And he helps give her directions because she is lost. He explains how he doesn't have a brain and that's just something he really wants. And she doesn't understand how he can function without a brain. I've always wondered that too. And so, he agrees to help her and this and that. Now, in the book, it's a little bit differently. The reason why he doesn't have a brain is because he was literally created a couple of days ago and just wasn't inserted one. Also, there are two crows, and the oldest one tells him the significance and the importance of having a brain. I believe he also protects her from the crows or something like that. And, we see the whole apple thing, him and her on the trail. She sees some apples and the tree pops her on the hand. And so, this is something that doesn't happen till much later in the book. But, the Scarecrow is one of those really nice, characters. And his makeup looks amazing. It just sucks that the makeup itself left, lasting scars on the actor's face. Because of, the glue and everything. And so as they're on their little journey and everything, they happen to meet that of the Tin Man. He is just standing there. He's all they say he's rusted, but you don't see no rust on him. But he can barely move his lips. And that's because it rained, I guess, a couple of days ago. And he's just stuck out there in the sun. And so, she gets this little oil thing and she oils him up, and he's able to now move his joints and talk. And he talks about how he doesn't have a heart and he just really wants one. And so he agrees to like go on their journey and everything to find a wizard, because maybe the wizard can give him a heart. Now, something in this movie was never explained. None of the origins of her three friends are ever explained in this movie. In fact, it wasn't until 1985 to this movie Return to Oz that we get an explanation as to why he is the way he is. And when I heard this watching that movie, I'm just like, I don't remember them saying that in The Wizard of Oz. Maybe they're just doing this because this movie's dark. No, it's actually his origin. In the book, the Tin Woodsman was actually a real man. The Wicked Witch of the East put a curse on his axe, and he chopped off all his limbs one by one. His legs, his arms, and and so he had to be put like in the tin type like body and everything. And so that's why he doesn't have a heart. Very dark and very grim. It's amazing how dark the source material is, because the Tin Man actually kills folks in the books. Well, creatures, that is. And so, like, it makes me wonder, if they was to ever make a movie that was 100% spot on of the books, would people accept it? I don't think so, because this movie is too ingrained in people's hearts. Like, it makes their heart a flutter. Like, they just can't see it no other way, Because if they was to see it, because this movie is about, 80% accurate to the books. But the books have, like, way more source material that it didn't even touch on. And so it makes you wonder, if they was to go down that fairy tale, dark, gritty route, would people ever accept it? Now, the third person they meet, or the third person she meets, that is the lion, the cowardly lion. And just like in the books, he tries to attack them and tries to bite Toto, and it doesn't work, and she smacks him. And sadly, there's a sad story to the smack. She couldn't quite hit him as hard as the director wanted her to. So allegedly, he pulled her aside and slapped her. And after that, she bopped him the way he wanted to. Now, when I see it in the movie, it's literally just a bop on top of the head. So it makes you wonder how hard he slapped her and stuff. Because the way she hits the line isn't hard like you would think. So it makes you wonder and everything. They abused the crap out of that girl, man. She was only 17. And so she would have been 16 when filming the movie, I believe. And so the cowardly lion is just that. He's not brave. And he's ashamed by that. Now, in the book, I think the reason why he's not brave is because he fears a lot of stuff. And also his roar is not as loud as the others. And so because of that, he feels like he just can't take nobody on. So of course he goes with them to meet the wizard. And so the wizard can give him some courage. So as they're on their journey, we all know what happens. They follow the yellow brick road, and the witch is constantly spying on them, which reminds me of something. It reminds me of that animated movie of Dora the Explorer becoming a true princess. I remember I had to watch that movie over and over and over again because my niece was so young at that time, and that's all she wanted to watch. And that whole movie is basically this. I didn't even know it until now. And so I think the witch made them fall asleep in poppy seeds and stuff, And not poppy seed, but poppy flowers, or whatever they're called. And so because, Dorothy and the lion are organic, they succumbed to that and everything. And Glinda, she made it snow and it woke them up, which we all know is asbestos. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Why the world did they use that? However, in the book, it's just they came upon like, a poppy seed type thing, or whatever it's called, poppy something, and they just fell asleep. No witch was involved in everything like that. And so at some point, they actually make it to like, the wizard's place in Emerald City, and they're treated to like, getting themselves dolled up and everything. They're having like a glamorous day. The lion gets like a bow in his head and everything. They took away Dorothy's pigtails and left her hair down and everything. Now I'm not sure what color Dorothy's dress is in the book, but as everybody knows, she wears a blue dress. This makes me wonder because after watching Anne with an E and other older, timely period piece type stuff in the early 1900s, if you was poor like Dorothy's family is, you would not wear blue. You would wear brown, black, grays, colors like that, poor people colors. Blues and purples and pinks were for the rich people who could afford that stuff. So I guess they really just wanted to make her outfit pop, you know what I'm saying? And so, but the thing about the book is that it took them a while to get to the wizard's place. It took them about a couple of days. And while it took them to get there, they had to go on like a journey. Like they had to fight for their survival because the Wicked Witch of the West was sending all kinds of creatures to kill them. First, she sent like I think wolves or something like that. And I believe it was the Tin Man with his axe killed all the wolves. Then at some point, she sent down crows, and the scarecrows snapped their necks. And then, like, when I say this is a dark book, boy, it's a dark book. And so then she sent like bees after them, and the Tin Man's the one who got stung by all the bees, so the bees died. She sent something else, I think, some kind of creature like thing, and I think the lion took care of those somehow. I'm not sure how, I don't remember. I wish we could have saw that in the movie, but they didn't have the budget for it. Somebody needs to make a faithful adaptation, man. I really want to see it. But live action, I don't want to see no animated crap. And so, like, as they're there at the wizard's place, at first the dude at the gate won't let them in, but then he finally lets them in. And so they all meet the wizard, and he's all like, all right, fine, I'll give y'all what y'all want, but you gotta do something for me. I want the witch's broom. So they go on a task to get the witch's broom. This is totally different in the book. In the book, he sees them one by one. And when he sees them, it's literally like a days apart. So when I say this is a journey over a couple of days, boy, when she was gone for Kansas for a long time. And so not only will he see them one by one, but he changes his appearance. Now, when it comes to Dorothy, he's that giant, like, floating head thing. But when it's other people, he changes his appearance. One time, for one of them, I can't remember which one, he turns into like a woman. Another one, I think he turns into, what was it? I can't remember. It might have been a creature or something. It's basically kind of scare them away. And there's a reason why he wants to like scare them away. But I forget what he turns himself into with the other people and stuff. And so, like, they head to, like, find the evil witch's, like, castle and, like, steal her broom and everything. And so she sends out, like, her minions. I think it was like the flying monkeys and stuff. And just like in the book, the scarecrow gets like ripped apart. But I believe in the book, he separates himself to shield the others or something like that. I can't remember. And something else happens, but I can't really remember what it was. But anyway, in the movie, she gets taken captive, and the witch is being like so evil to her. Once again, gotta give it up to like Margaret for playing the witch, man. She was awesome and amazing in this role. She did her little hourglass thing, flipped it, and locked her in the room. Toto got out and he found the others. The others repaired like the scarecrow's body, and then they took out some soldiers. What was it like? They took out some soldiers and they dressed up as the soldiers. They infiltrated the castle, and it was funny how they did that because the minions come behind them and they just like fight underneath a log, and then all of a sudden we see the good guys in like their outfits, showing how brave they are to help their friend out who they just met. And plus, they want that broom so they can get their wishes and stuff. And it really shows just how brave the lion is and how like, um what is it? Smart the scarecrow is. So they don't even need their wishes, but they were also armed with weapons and stuff. And for some reason, the scarecrow had a gun, which he never used for some bizarre reason. Anyways, so they infiltrate like the castle and they rescue Dorothy. She wasn't able to somehow open the door and get out herself. And so then the Wicked Witch, she sets the broom on fire and she sets the scarecrow on fire. And Dorothy, she protected her friend and she doused the fire out on the scarecrow. But the witch was in the facility of like, the water, and she melts. And but Dorothy, she was like, oh, she was sorry. She didn't want to do that. Like it was a mistake, you know what I'm saying? In the book, it is not a mistake. Now, the guys don't rescue that of Dorothy. Instead, Dorothy rescues herself. The Wicked Witch wants those silver slippers, right? But she will not give them to her. And something happens where she tricks Dorothy into like removing one somehow. I forget how. And so this pisses Dorothy off and she grabs a bucket and she just throws the water at the witch, causing the witch to melt because the witch is so like, I forget why, but something's wrong with her like anatomy and everything that causes water to like, causes her to melt. It's something that's like I guess it's something like the cane inside of her body or something like that that has that effect with water and stuff. And so afterwards, like the flying monkeys and I think the wiki men, I think it was, or something like that, or it was somebody, her minions, they was thrilled that the Wicked Witch is gone because they didn't want to do her bidding no more. And so in the book, the Wicked Witch had like a yellow cap hat type thing, right? And the hat grants you three wishes. And so the Wicked Witch used up all of hers, which is why she wanted like, the slippers. And so like now they are indebted to that of Dorothy, and she has the cap and she's able to make the wishes, and they fly her back to Emerald City along with the other guys. This never happened in the movie. But just like in the books, when they're back at Emerald City and everything with the wizard, Toto goes over to the curtain, reveals that the wizard is really just a man. They call him a humbug and everything, and because he deceived them and he doesn't have no magical powers. He reveals to them like, that he's just a man from Kansas, got stuck here by an air balloon and all this other crap. This is where in the movie he gives them like stuff and rambles off the mouth, not making no sense. And I'm just like, what the heck is he talking about? And he offers to send Dorothy back home with the air balloon and everything. Now in the book, it's a little bit different. In the book, oh, what was it? So let's see. He's still just a regular man from Kansas. But he actually gives them other things. Like he gives the scarecrow brains and not a diploma. Or a plaque or wherever the heck he gave him the movie. He gave him brains out of pins, needles, and bran cereal, I believe. He gives the lion a potion that gives him temporary courage and stuff. he gives the Tin Man a heart of sorts, something that's sewn onto him was something like that. I can't remember. Something made of silk and fabric, and he just attached it to like his chest to be a heart. Let's see, Scarecrow, Brain, and okay, yeah, that's all of them and stuff. And the thing about the wizard is like when you think about it, he's just a big con man, but a huge coward. In the movie, he wanted like the broom for whatever reason, and he was too scared to go himself, so he sent the little girl and three mythical creatures and stuff. In the book, he literally wants Dorothy to kill the Wicked Witch of the West. And it's just like, dude, she's a little girl and everything. Now, the whole killing the Wicked Witch, that was a plot in Oz the Great and Powerful. And so in the book, he tells them, hey, go to Glinda, the Witch of the South, and she'll send you home. So now they're tasked with new tasks and everything. And while they're there, they defeat like tons of other creatures. And when the lion defeats these type of spider-like creatures, the people there is all like, we want you to be our ruler and everything. But he won't be their ruler until he sends Dorothy back home. In fact, they all defeat something or another. It makes people happy. And so this is the part of the book where it's just kind of like they have to go on another task. They should have just cut it off like in the movie and, have the air balloon and the tapping up tapping three times up the slippers. It just feels like the book is getting a little bit too long and everything. And so while she's there with the wizard in the air balloon, just like in the book, Toto sees a cat and jumps out. She jumps out. He hightails it on out of there and she's stuck. And Glinda tells her, hey, just tap those shoes three times and say there's no place like home and everything and all this other crap. But in the movie, of course, there was an explanation as to why she didn't tell her that in the beginning of the movie and stuff. And so the Scarecrow becomes like the ruler of Emerald City. The lion becomes the ruler of like the forest, and the Scarecrow becomes like the ruler of some other place. I forget where. I think, if not Munchkin Town, no, I think it's Chinatown and everything. Where of course we saw Chinatown in Oz the Great and Powerful. Never in this movie. And so she taps her heels in the book, and a tornado comes and it whisks her away. She can't really see, and the shoes fall off in the deadly desert. Now, the deadly desert was never shown in this movie, but it was shown in Return to Oz. If you touch the desert, you turn to sand and you die. And so that was something in the movie when I watched them, I'm like, how did she know about this desert if the desert was never shown in the original movie? That's because it's not a real sequel to it. It's like a spiritual sequel and everything. And so she ends up back in Oz. But in the movie, this is the part that should have pissed everybody off and probably did. It was all a dream. Yep. It was all a dream crap. So it's like all that stuff she went through in the movie don't mean nothing because it never really happened. Now, the reason for this is because the writers felt that a 1930s audience would never believe that a little girl got whisked away to a magical land. So they made the impression that she just dreamt the whole thing, and that's why characters from the beginning of the movie showed up in Oz and everything. And that's been a tradition going on for so many different like sequels and prequels and stuff, all because of this movie. And so, yeah, I don't like the whole idea of it just being a dream. It's just something that ruins the entire movie for me because she got a vivid imagination, man. And like, it is what it is. And so, what's interesting is that there is nobody but one person who is still alive till this day from this original movie. Karen Marsh Doll was the stand-in for Dorothy, Judy Gardner and everything. And she's 105 years old till this day of this recording. Her birthday was in April. And like, dude, she's 105 years old. Like, that's crazy and stuff. But she is the last survivor of this movie. And she's the last survivor of what's known as the golden age of Hollywood. That is nuts, and she was just a stand-in. Now she's done some acting here and there, but most of her stuff is uncredited. And she also was a stand-in for another movie Judy Garland did. It's insane how this movie has such a huge impact on all the sequels and all the prequels and stuff. And to this day, this is still regarded as like the best of like the best, even though it's super outdated and stuff. And when you look at the other movies like Oz the Great and Powerful, or like, Return to Oz, the Return to Oz is a bit more faithful in terms of the darkness and the grittiness, and it's based off the other two books. But the whole Insane Asylum thing, that was actually, it's funny. That's never happened in the books, but it almost happened in the first movie when the writers was talking about like, something about like an insane asylum and stuff like that. I guess somebody must have heard that and then wrote that for like the 1985 movie. And the whole like Oz Great and Powerful, we actually got to see him, be a man from Kansas and teleport to Oz on a hot air balloon and get stuck there, and him being a con man and like skimming people and stuff. And so it's like, in a way, even though they're not real sequels or like real, like, prequels, to me, they are, what I'm saying? And, but it's still insane how like the green skin of the witch has like translated to other like sequels and other like reboots and adaptations, and the ruby red slippers, which were in Return to Oz, but Disney had to pay a fee to MGM. But ironically, MGM, or Warner Brothers, as to say now, would not let Disney do it for like, the Oz Great and Powerful. Warner Brothers need to make an adaptation, man, a faithful adaptation, and they need to adapt the other books. Like David Zaslav is always looking for the next big thing to adapt because Warner Brothers is still in the hole from the merger and everything. So I don't know why he's wasting his time on Harry Potter. Like, just do Wizard of Oz. You got the rights to the movie. Do something. But of course, I don't know who made the Wicked movie. I've never actually researched to see who actually made that movie. I just know it's a thing now. And it's a much different take, with Glinda and, well, Aphida, they changed the name for that. They always change the Wicked Witch of the West name and East. In Oz, Great and Powerful, it was Theodora, now it's Aphida. And, they was friends at school and, this and that. And, and so, but one thing cool about the whole Oz Great and Powerful is that, the Wicked Witch of the West was originally human looking with human looking skin. Then she transformed into green and everything. Same thing with that Once Upon a Time. So I do like how they knew, their source material and adapted it the way they did. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.